Today I'll tell you about the film Snowpiercer. The director is Bong Joon-ho. He's a Korean who got 4 Oscar prizes with the movie Parasite. The story about Snowpiercer. There was a scene in the futuristic Earth where cold, ice, and snow cover. Human civilization remains only those on the Eternal Engine ship. This ship has departed for 17 years. On the train, social classes are divided into classes. At the top of the train are the rich classes. The rich are extravagant, wasteful, singing day to day. The poor are at the back, people on the bottom of society crowded in filthy sterns. Their lives are very hard. They eat foods from the top. For 17 years, a black, soft, and spongy protein bar, quite like the Chinese jelly in the solid form. Those people want to protest. The reason is simple. We want to eat stewed beef, but any rebellion is also brutally controlled by the soldiers. They even send men to arrest kids. If someone is disrespectful to those on board, they will let their hands out on the ship and take back. Hands freeze, then break hard with a hammer. Can they stand that anymore? There's a secret leader named Curtis. He's also Captain America. To protest, he silently collected a lot of iron barrels. That day, the soldier came to give food. They open electric doors. Curtis feels the chance. He runs straight to the soldiers, take their guns, and point his head to threaten. As his expectation, the gun has no bullet. So the entire people fight strongly. They push the iron barrels to block the doors. They are outnumbered and defeat the soldiers in just a while. They win in their first battle. Then they go to the detention room upstairs. It's a special room. The prisoners are locked in drawers. They already found who they need. A Korean expert. He knows how to open the electric doors. He takes out an old pack of cigarettes, takes a deep breath, blows out smoke. Everyone gets close to smell. So horrible. Curtis and Korean expert reach an agreement. He also saved his locked daughter. The girl has a miraculous power. She can feel if the other train carriage is occupied or not. The expert opens the door. They come into the next carriage. Here they see a window. Look at the world outside. They are surprised to see. Snow covered the breath of death. They continued on to the next train carriage. The girl reminds one more time. The next carriage has one person. They come in. There's a person. This is where the protein bar was produced. Curtis is very curious. He climbs up to the top of the machine and looks surprisingly. Curtis feels scared. It turns out the protein bars they have eaten for 17 years were made from cockroaches. He keeps throwing up. The people in the back are still struggling for protein bars. He climbs down. He tells the abstract painter not to draw this. The painter could only agree. They move on to the next carriage, but when the Korean man is opening the door, his daughter heard something in that carriage. She looks scared. Don't open it! But her father opened it. There appeared lots of people with hammers and axes on their hands. The most dangerous thing is their eyes are all covered. Why that? If they come to fight against the protesters, their covered eyes may weaken them. The answer is revealed soon. They all wear night glasses, then turn on the above light. The Korean man says there's a tunnel ahead, then runs. The train gets into the tunnel. Oh no! In the darkness, the protesters can't fight. They are killed one by one. In the last moment, Curtis suddenly remembers that he saw the matchbox of the Korean man. He shouted, "Hurry up! We need fire!" Then a child in the back fires. The torch is on. Let's go! The child and then the adults come forward. A small spark like the starlight begins to spread. At last, that torch reached the hands of the protesters. They control the situation and defeat those people. Curtis arrests the rich female leader. The train gets out of the tunnel, but the protesters receive lots of damage. Even the child that loves Curtis the most died. Curtis feels broken for a while until night. An old man advises him not to go. Curtis doesn't follow. He moves on and leaves a lot of people behind. He only has 6 men with him to escort that female leader. From now on, they can see a new world. First, there's a carriage full of fruits. Then there's a carriage which looks up like a fish tank. Here they also have a delicious fresh sushi meal. Then they go to a food storage with full of chicken meat. They had to eat cockroaches for 17 years. Now there are various foods in front. The next carriage is a classroom. A group of rich kids are in class. The teacher seems to brainwash them. The Snowpiercer is the world saver. It's justice. No one could get off it. They look at the teacher and students overjoyed. Curtis feels very scared. Then a bald old man brought a basket of eggs. Distribute to each person an egg. Then push the cart to the back, where the poorest people are living. The poor also have a share. But suddenly at that moment, he takes out a gun. The female teacher also takes out a gun. When Curtis's group pushed the teacher down, they saw on the TV that the last carriage has been controlled. The assassin shot the old man. Curtis got very furious. He kills the female leader. They move on to the next carriages and feel more surprised. There's a dental clinic, tailor store, a luxurious bar. Everyone is dressed in mink coat, a beauty salon for ladies. The lavish life of a man with money is well portrayed. Unfortunately, the soldiers and the murderer caught up with them. It's a terrible fight again. Finally, Curtis defeats the murderer, but got much damage. Curtis seriously swears to his dying mother he would certainly save her daughter. She says thanks to him, then she passes away. The most money-rich place on the ship is a large disco. Everyone dresses strangely with a cup of wine on hand and dance under a weird music. It turns out these master race do nothing day by day, just live and play like parasites. Curtis ignored these people and silently moved forward. He just wanted to find the manager of the ship right away, to oppress him ruthlessly to relieve anger, because he supports the perversion of the debauchery. He has to pay for what he did. When he got to the boss's room, he realized that there's no way to open the door. Curtis gets angry. He scolds the door, but it only can be opened from the inside. There's no office outside. Here, the icon in the movie has highlighted feudal vested interests. No enter from the outside. Curtis sits down, becomes very angry and broken. Why? Because of sacrifice and damage. He lost the most important people. He lights the last cigarette, tells the Korean man that 17 years ago, before the manager brought the protein bar, those people in the last carriage had to eat each other. So did he. Until one day that old man led honest people to cutting their own limbs. They awoke and put an end to that cruel existence. For many years, Curtis has suffered, regretted, also thought about death, but now only he survived. Then the Korean man pointed to the train. I want to open this door. Let's get out of the ship. At this moment, the door of the management room opened. A woman wearing a yellow shirt shot the Korean man, then said to Curtis, she wants him to come in. Curtis must follow her. He doesn't expect that. The ship owner is very hospitable. He made some beef stew for him and told him there was a terrifying secret behind the snowpiercer. The truth is that he arranged every protest from the last carriage. He wrote a secret letter and sent it, all because of his men. The old man that has prestige led the plan, where to defeat, who would die, why to do that. All was because to cut down the population. Resources on the ship are limited, but the population was increasing. Because to control the growing population, reasonable violence is essential. Decreasing the population at the bottom of the society and also reduces the rich population. It turns out all suffering in this world was all in the plan of the people behind. For him, all was just a number. How about Curtis? His eyes seemed blurred. The manager seemed to brainwash him successfully. He said he is too old. He wants Curtis to take this place. How would he decide? The child comes to ask for help. Curtis suddenly pushed her away. He's being brainwashed? At this moment, suddenly she heard the sound of an object below. Curtis helps her turn the counter. Below that is a boy in the last carriage operating the machine. The poor boy and the cold manager. At last, Curtis turned back to the original self. He must fight for good and righteous, not cold and ruthless economic logic. So he knocked down the manager, saved the child. The little girl also lit the wire on the ship. Then Curtis saved the boy with a Korean man. He uses his body to protect the two weak children. The ending of the movie is the two children left the snowpiercer in white snow. They found a living polar bear. What does this ending mean? Why did they leave the snowpiercer? I think this ending wants to represent a concept. If you use too many tricks, labor, and machines to control human development, human decides destiny. Why not going back to nature? For man and nature to be in harmony and form of a unity. From this view, human intellect cannot be underestimated.